Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Angel Face Magic Hour podcast. I'm super excited. Today, we're having our first guest, and we're going to be talking with Amanda, who has created the Royal Vibe Journey. This is an amazing business doing breath work, ceremony work, and I'm really excited for her to talk about her experience and her journey getting to where she is now. And I'm very excited. I met Amanda a couple years ago at a cacao and breathwork ceremony that you held in Santa Rosa. And yeah, for me, I just want to say, I think I've told you this, but it was a very powerful experience for me. And just reflecting upon that today, I was like thinking about the podcast, like what we want to talk about and stuff. And I was thinking about like that event was very amazing for me because it was a large group one, which was very powerful, and you had everyone talk about like an intention that they wanted to put out into the universe. And my intention that night was like being opening myself up more to like talking about my intuitive work and like being open about being a psychic. And so I felt like that was a really cool catalyst for me, and just to see like, okay, this many people can be drawn to an event that some might be like, oh, what is this weird thing? People are just going to breathe together. But like all different types of people were there, which I thought was really interesting. So then, yeah, we've just been Instagram friends, and I'm excited to talk with you today. So I'll just have you introduce yourself and just share where you're located and a little bit about what you do.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you for having me. And I didn't know that I was your first guest until today when I went on Instagram, and I was like, no way. So thank you so much. And I just want to acknowledge you and all the work that you're doing and just how powerful you are. I've had the experience of, doing sessions with you as well. And so you bring through some really, really potent magic. And it's just really incredible to see how you're assisting others in finding their own magic. And so it's just really beautiful to be connected in this way and to be here with you and with all your listeners. So hello to everyone listening, and thank you for tuning in. I'm Amanda. Currently, I am in Southern Oregon. So I moved up here just before COVID happened, from a nudge from spirit, actually, to be closer with my family. And it all just worked out really beautifully, to be here and be with them and be close. I'm the creator of the Royal Vibe Journey. And what that is a lot of different things, really, pulling in all of the tools and the modalities that I've learned along the way to assist and to help others discover the royal essence that is within each and every one of us, that soul essence of who we are, whether it's, an intuitive, a healer, a body worker, whatever it is that you feel called to, whatever your truth is, then that is your royal essence. And so living, with that and being that on a daily basis. And so I assist and support others in discovering that and blossoming that. And I do that through breath work, cacao, and plant medicine. I work and create retreats for individuals to come and to journey in different kinds of ways with plant medicine. And I have a studio here in Oregon that really just came into existence through spirit as well. Was really a space that was gifted to me, honestly. And so I've been able to hold one-on-one sessions with people to journey with the breath. And, for me, through breath, through medicine work, through retreats, through my spiritual journey, it's really been coming back into the body, coming back into this place of being in the body, being able to feel the emotions that are stuck, that we experience through, whether that's trauma, whether that's, a car accident, whether that's just day-to-day emotions that we experience, when we can really feel those and be with those with the body and move them through breath, through movement, through somatic release, which is a lot of what plant medicine is, then we're able to really we're able to release those things and kind of reach higher frequencies, I guess you can say, and higher senses of being. And so when we're without these denser, frequencies or emotions in the body, then we can really get to that royal essence and really live in that place of being who we are and in our truth. So yeah, that's me.
Amazing. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think it's so cool. And I had a breathwork session with Amanda last year, I think.
Mhm.
And it was super powerful for me. Like, I definitely had some interesting visuals come through and just body sensations. And I think that's so powerful that you can receive that from literally breathing. But I think it's like important for people when they're wanting to go that deep with the breath to have someone there with them. One, to
Mhm.
actually like keep the time, like make sure you do it. If I'm trying to do that by myself, I'll probably give up after like a minute. But also it is like I would say it's like an astral ceremony or something, taking people into this deep space of healing. So I think it's important for someone to be there to guide them and to help people understand that what's happening to them. Because you
Mm.
can have some interesting body sensations for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. The body's so wild. And I've really recently, and connecting the dots as we do through, all of our spiritual journey, and different things will happen and you'll kind of connect the dots back, right? So before really getting into this work, I was going through training to be a midwife, and I just completed a certification as well to hold space as a doula. And it's really just been this combining of both worlds, of the physical body and, like you said, the astral and the spiritual realm, and really being this like spiritual midwife and doula for the clients that I work with, and for the retreat spaces that I hold, because it really is about holding that container and creating that space for someone. We oftentimes just really want to be witnessed, we really want to be felt and seen, and that's really like, it's so powerful to be seen and to be held in a vulnerable place, and to know that you're not judged. No one's looking at you in a weird way. If you want to scream, you can scream. If you want to growl like a bear, you can. Like, whatever it is that you want to do, and allow yourself to move that energy through the body. If it's making a weird sound that doesn't really sound good, but it's really getting to this place of, it's not meant to look pretty, it's not meant to sound good, it's just meant to move the energy, and so in the spaces that I hold, it's so true. It's, you need that person that's there, that's holding the space, so you can be seen and felt and held, and you feel safe, and breath work really is incredible, because if there is trauma within the body, or there's just those denser energies within the body, um there can be, like you said, a lot of sensations, there can be a lot of things that are happening, and just to know that you're safe, and it's this reprogramming of the mind. And I had an experience with a client recently, and she has experiences anxiety, and she was sharing with me afterwards that throughout the breathwork session, she was feeling the sensations that she normally feels within her body when a panic attack is going to come on, but she was in such a relaxed state and in a safe space that she knew that that wasn't the case. So it was like almost making that separation between body and mind, to where, whoa, I'm feeling this viscerally in my body, but I know that I'm so safe and held right now. So she really got to experience that sensation within the body, and reprogram her mind to say, oh, wow, like, okay, I can feel these things within in my vessel and still know that I'm safe, right? And so that was like, that was so powerful to have her share that, because I was just like, wow, like that's exactly what we're doing, is being able to feel the things in the body but not attaching ourselves to them, and so we can just be the observer and witness it and then transmute it, really. So yeah.
I love that. Yeah, when
Mhm.
you were talking, I was just thinking about how it is like it's rewiring our brain to
Mhm.
be able to experience that physical sensation without like fear coming up or whatever that associated emotion is. So it's
Yeah.
very interesting. So I wanted to just kind of ask some fun questions before we get into our conversation,
Yeah.
just to kind of share a little bit about you so people can get to know you.
Okay.
But my first question is, if you were to tell people about like kind of like your daily routine working with your spiritual work, is there
Mhm.
something that you do on a daily basis, like meditation, yoga, something like that, as well as self-care, like what you do to take care of yourself, especially holding space for so many people? The more you open up for that, you really have to do that same work for yourself. So I just am curious what you are into and what what helps you feel connected.
Thank you. Thank you for asking me that. Yeah, it's so important as healers, energy workers, that we are doing the work as well and really diving into that. So it's so important. For me, honestly, a day, I am such like, I'm here on the earth, man. I love Pachamama so, so much. And I'm so deeply connected to her. And I actually just recently got to go back home and visit. That's a whole nother like soul retrieval was happening in that journey back home. But so the first thing I do is normally just feed my body. Like I love bone broths. I kind of have this ritual of either it's a bone broth, a cacao when I wake up, and that's kind of my meditative, like thing to just feel into and allow like myself to nourish my body. And so I'll get up, I'll have, that bone broth, that tea, that cacao, and really just sit with myself in meditation. And then because the weather is so nice, I love to garden. And so I have a bunch of plants and different things that I tend to. And so I'm
Cool.
like first thing in the morning, like bare feet on the ground. A lot of times I'll move like somatically, whatever, if it's dancing, if it's just shaking. I really like to connect to those portals in our feet and really like if I've had a crazy dream or something that just like feels more dense, I really visualize myself like sending that energy down to Pachamama and her just transmuting it and then pulling up that energy to revitalize and energize myself, for the day. And so that's kind of like the first, couple hours of my day. I try my best to not be on my phone. Give myself that first like couple hours just without my phone and have it just be on airplane mode and do its thing. And it's really just connection to the earth, honestly, for me. Like I will spend hours with just, in the grass, journaling, um, singing. Like I have a drum that sometimes I'll use. It just depends on like what the mood is and what I'm feeling. um I've just like gotten into making like the flower essences and
Oh,
stuff like that.
cool.
So yeah, so I'm just like picking little flowers or whatever, and then from there it's really just like going into sessions. I have the studio is like 20 minutes from here, so I like to actually, one of the things that I've been doing recently is I just got a gym membership and I've like really been wanting to get back into taking care of my vessel in the way that I,
Physical practice.
yeah, physical practice for me because, all of us, we were really stagnant, for the last year just with all the crap that we had to experience. And I'm super athletic. I always have been. And so working out was another form of meditation. Like I would just go and put in like a podcast or put in, some binaural beats or something and just like work out for an hour and a half or two or something. And this place that I found is epic and it's right next to the river. So I've been going to the gym and
Ooh,
afterwards I'll go to the river and I just like dip in the river, like little baptize myself in the
I
river.
love that. That's amazing.
Yeah, and then from there it's off to, the breathwork room or something. But yeah, that's kind of what it looks like these days and it's always changing, but yeah.
I love that. And
Yeah.
so tell us, is there anything that, I don't want to say anything is ever a guilty pleasure,
Mm,
because I feel like that just puts a thought in our brain that we shouldn't be
yeah.
doing something. But what is something that you're into that maybe people wouldn't expect from someone who's a healer?
Gosh, I'm not even sure. What is my guilty pleasure? Mm, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I can get wrapped up in like making little reels and like stuff like that is fun on Instagram. It's like I love to like go through and see the creativeness of other people and like what they're doing. So that might be like a little guilty pleasure. I might like, spend a little bit more time than I like to admit every now and again on like scrolling a reel or something. Um, but gosh, what is a guilty pleasure? I don't know. I feel like I don't ever feel guilty about this, but like pleasure in the sense of like I like to microdose. And so on the days that I'm like don't have a heavy like schedule, I will just take the time to go out and either hike or be by the river, and I'll do like a little bit, higher dose of of what I would consider a microdose and just kind of like do my thing. And not to say that like I don't hide that at all. Like my family and everything, they know like what I do. But being close to family and them like kind of just observing all the things that I'm doing and just kind of still being like, it's
They're
like
like,
it's
there she is with her drum again. That's
so
awesome.
yeah, so it's kind of like one of those things I feel like sometimes I kind of gotta like sneak off to and just be like, I'm gonna, be doing something for the day. So
I love it. So, and then my last little question I think will be interesting to ask you. So if you were to have like a roundtable discussion, what are they called? A seminar, somatic seminar with like 5 people,
oh, five. This is
dead or alive,
okay.
on the topic of like consciousness.
Oh
Who
my
would you like to talk to? Could be
Yeshua.
anyone. Number one. Okay, great,
Yeah,
great
number one.
choice.
Oh my gosh. Okay, Yeshua for sure. Buddha. Oh my goodness. I feel like ISIS, something like that. Through your session that I had with you, what you shared with me that I had connections in Sirius. So I feel like my Syrian self, my like
Ooh,
yeah, for
yes.
sure. um and then I feel like it would have to be like some kind of like shamanic, like some old grandmother who was just like had all the wisdom, all the plant knowledge, someone like that to where I could be like, okay, tell me all the earth things.
I love that.
Yeah.
I think it's just interesting thing to think about. And I love your answers.
I'm like, source,
Amazing.
just take me straight
Just God. Amazing.
out.
Oh, and then one last question before we
Okay.
get into our main conversation. Is there anything like a book or a movie or a song that is inspiring you right now?
I'm actually reading right now. I'm reading The Body Keeps Score, and I can like see the book from here, but I can't recall the author. And that's really been really interesting with the breath work, and then moving into holding space as a doula is just more of what we talked about, really getting into that aspect of the body. And I've kind of it's really inspiring me to come back into the body, because there was a time not too long ago where I was really searching out, not outside of myself, but I was wanting to have these like, astral realm like connections, and like let me connect to these other star beings and all these things, because it was so like not mainstream, but like in the spiritual community that was what a lot of channelers and different people were experiencing, and I'm like, fuck man, like I don't connect to those things, and it kind of made me feel like um why not, like it made me have that question. And so just through all of the work that I've been doing and with plant medicine, all of the things, and then coming back to the body through breath work and through holding space as a doula, it's like, oh, I'm here, like I'm in earth, like I'm meant to be here on earth, like I'm meant to channel those codes and connect to, Pachamama, and connect to myself as a part of her in different ways, and so that book, The Body Keeps Score, has been really, just solidifying those things, and especially all the work, all the books that I've been reading for the doula certification. It's just like all these wild, like orgasmic, like birth stories and stuff. I'm just
Whoa.
dude, like the
It's
body
so
is just so,
interesting.
yeah, the body's just so wild. It's so cool, you know? So I feel like it's really bringing me back into this, like, oh, I get to be here and I get to really feel and experience, through the body for myself. And so that's been inspiring for me.
Amazing. I have
Yeah.
not read that book, but I've heard good things about it. And I think it's just interesting to think about like ancestral trauma and just the fact that our cells were once inside of our grandmother back and back and back. So there's so much information that we contain about earth and humankind that is just within us. But I
Yeah.
think it's interesting what you said about people kind of like everyone's talking about aliens and stuff like that, because I think people, I mean, obviously I'm really into
Yeah, you're
aliens.
yeah,
It's
you're
definitely
connected. Yeah.
interesting
Mhm.
topic to me, but I think some people might feel almost like, oh, being human's not good enough. But
Yeah.
being a human, you are a star being.
Yes.
This is the planet, like this is still part of a star system. Just
Yeah.
because we're here and we can like walk around it doesn't mean we're
Mhm.
not like still part of that planetary
100%.
passage or that cosmic information. So it's just like tuning into this place that we live. So I think, yeah, people might feel, oh, it's boring to talk about the earth, or it's like boring to talk about your body, or like
Mhm.
everyone, yeah, wants to leave the body,
Mhm.
escape. And
Mhm.
that's the opposite of why we're supposed to be here. We
Exactly.
came here to be humans and to have a physical experience.
Yeah, and I
So
love what you said. It's so true. It's like we are star beings. We're floating around just like any other, being that's out there. And it's true. We're made up of stars. We're made up of all the things. And so I love that. That's so true. And I know that, yeah, everyone's gonna connect to different guides and different things in the way that feels right for them. And I think that was just a part of my journey where, as you go along, you kind of it's hard not to sometimes look out at other people and be like, oh, well, they do this or they do that. We've just been conditioned in that way to be, comparing ourselves and just to even see ourselves as separate. So, that's the shedding of the limiting beliefs and the programs, the constructs to come back to that place of, oh, we are all really connected and we're all one. And that starts with us, yeah, learning ourselves first, learning the body. And what you touched on, yeah, like the ancestral stuff is so wild. Like, and with this book too, I didn't read this in this book, but it fits perfectly about there was like an experiment or something. I want to say they did on mice or something. And it was something about like they did something to them and then that trauma passed down like almost like 12 generations or
12,
something.
it's, yeah, there is 12
Well,
generations. They
yeah.
used to think it was 7, but now they
Mhm.
just recently, I don't know, maybe the last few years,
Yeah.
they prove that it's like 12 generations. So I
Mhm.
mean, given the history of America and just the entire world,
Yeah.
we are just holding on to so much trauma from beyond just our own experiences. So I think it's easy for us to be like, oh, I've been trying to heal myself forever. I feel like I can't figure out why I still
Mhm.
feel this emotion, or I get triggered. But it's
Yeah.
like it's beyond just us. And then of course we have our past lives. So it's a
Yeah.
whole nother can of worms.
Yeah, really. Yep. Yeah, that's so amazing. I know there's so much. It's endless. It really is. And that's what is beautiful about, the work that you do and being able to tap into those realms and give that assistance to people because sometimes it's so true, I'm like, damn, like I've been like I learned that lesson, I dealt with that, I released that, like I'm at this place. So what is it that it's still blocking me? And oftentimes, I did a session not too long ago with a brother of mine and almost everything that he pulled up was ancestral. It was all like stuff that, there was little things here and there that were released really quickly that were, maybe when I was a teenager or something like that. But the heavy stuff was all like these core beliefs, and I feel like, you kind of get to that place in your journey where it's like, okay, like, and your ancestors are in a line being like, all right, now like heal all of our shit, you know?
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, my
Uh,
grandmother, she lives on the East Coast, and she was visiting, was it the week before last for Mother's Day? She came out for a week, which was so nice because we didn't get to see her for the whole pandemic.
mhm.
But it was, and I love my family, obviously, but it was just so interesting to observe
Mhm.
her behaviors and see how that has directly affected my mother, and see how that affects the way that I assume things are when it's really
Yeah.
like, oh, that's just a picked up belief from my family rather than like what I actually think.
Oh,
So it's
100%.
it's just so interesting to be close. And I'm sure you see that moving closer to your family, seeing
Oh.
like, oh, this is why I have an issue with money, or I have an issue with sex,
Mhm.
or whatever, like these
Whatever. Mhm.
deeper wounding is. It's so
Mhm.
interesting to have that perspective. At least now I can view it and understand that it's a thing rather than it just hurting me all the time.
Hurting you. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. It's so perfect because I just yesterday got back from visiting my family and the three generations on my mom's side. So my mom, my aunt, me, myself, and my cousin, and then our grandmother, we were all together. And it was like, whoa, whoa, and it's so true being back. And I know that I came back home for a reason. And, not only there's many layers, of course, but it was really going through like, oh shit, like I feel like I'm 15 again, like, oh, where are
Yeah.
you? What are you doing? Like, are you coming home? And I'm just like, no, like, and what's really been present for me lately is because I feel that my who I am and what I stand for and the truth that I hold within myself is it's like heavy medicine, you know what I mean? It's like I'm really like, here it is, this is what it is. Like here's like this is, I'm going to challenge your beliefs and I'm going to challenge like what it is that you think is normal, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to say it, and it's been interesting to kind of weave through that because and I'm learning different ways in which I'm like, okay, I don't have to be like this brute, like force all the time, but to really like soften myself in certain ways and learn how to speak to different audiences and tailor my message in such a way that really lands for someone, and it's been helping me in all kinds of ways, but for me it's really standing in my truth and just being like fully who I am and not being apologetic for it and not feeling bad or not holding myself back for that either. One of my one of the biggest practices that I have is prayer, and there's been moments where I feel that nudge from spirit to be like, okay, like pray, or say like let's do like pray together, or whatever it is, and come together in that way. And it's like you know
Yeah. I had that like exact experience with when my grandmother is here, and she's Catholic and stuff. But my parents are not religious.
Yeah.
So when she was there, my dad was like, oh, we'll say grace, like when we're all having like a family dinner. And like with my dad, he normally say something like rub a dub dub, thanks for the grub, like it's a joke. But I was like, oh, I'm gonna take this opportunity to like actually say a nice prayer. And I feel like my grandmother really appreciated that. So it was just
Yeah.
like, oh, letting go of the judgment of what my parents would be like, that's
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah, exactly. It's so true. Like I
And
was,
just in the spiritual community too, I
oh,
feel like, I think
mhm.
prayer can look, people might view it as a solely a Christian thing, and um that's definitely not the case.
Yeah, no,
And even
prayer
if it is, that's fine, as long as you're not
fine too.
imposing your beliefs on other people. I don't
Exactly.
have an
Yeah.
issue with anyone's belief.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, prayer's intention. I mean, it's what you want to manifest and experience, and it's speaking things into existence, which is a beautiful practice no matter there's just so much, yeah, connected to it because of religion. And yeah, it was really interesting for me because it's like, oh, I'm in this playground here with my family so I can practice fully being in my truth, fully being in those awkward moments, fully being okay with someone not seeing or thinking the same way as me. And I was like, oh, this is like my training, like this is my training ground, because there's going to be thousands of people that are going to be met with my medicine, and it's not going to be something that they want to sit with, and that's perfectly fine, and it's not meant to be for everybody. And but we don't have to water ourselves down because, and so it's been a really beautiful like growing experience, and lessons here and there to be like, okay, like this is a piece of my soul contract that I have come to, experience, and I'm sure have many, many times, where it's like, okay, be in your truth, be your in your fullness, and fully in your power. And, just looking through my journey, it's oftentimes where those hard, like, universe sent that like 2x4 and smacked me in the head, was because like I wasn't in my truth, and I wasn't speaking like from, how I really felt. And I was just trying to please someone else, or, whatever the bullshit was. And so it's been just right there in my face, like, this is what it's for, this is why you're here in this time, not only but, to heal those ancestral wounds, to create those relationships, and to heal a lot of stuff, like I went through a lot of crazy like shit with my mom when I was younger. And but very, very blessed, like very blessed to have family that they don't really get it, but they're really open to it. Like just recently when we were down in Central Valley, I've like felt like a like proud little like I felt like I was the mom, and I was proud of my mom, because we went to this nursery, and she like beelined to this cactus, and then she said that it was speaking to her, that she felt called, and it was San Pedro, which is a medicine that I've sat with many times. And I was just like, oh my
That's
God,
so interesting.
which is so funny, because I oftentimes will, talk to people who are interested in plant medicine and say, your interest in that spirit is a calling. It's like the plants are calling to you, and your interest or sudden, like, let me Google this or whatever, is actually the spirit of, that plant speaking to you and speaking to your soul. And so for her to say that, I was just like, and then there's so many more connections to that. I'm actually about to journey into like a shamanic apprenticeship with a carrier of that medicine. And so it was just
Oh,
like
cool.
bing, 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 all the things. I'm like, and I've had many,
Perfect.
yeah, exactly. I had many visions of my family all sitting together in ceremony. And so I'm just like over there, like, you
That's
know?
so interesting. Yeah, I think a lot of times like we can be a catalyst for people, and we might not even know it. Like 2 years
Mhm.
later, they're like, oh, what is this energy healing, or what is this breath work that you're talking about? So I
Yeah.
think a lot of times it might be people you don't expect. Yeah, and our family too, which is
Oh yeah. Hmm.
just to show how, I feel like it's just to show how powerful your personal healing is, and how that has, yeah, reverberated to the ancestral line. And by your family being like starting to be a little more open about certain things,
Oh
it's like
yeah.
a direct reflection for you to see like, oh, this is like working.
I know.
It's
It's so
working.
it's so cool. And yeah, something that came up recently too was, the being home, all the inner child stuff is going to come up, and so for me it was a lot of I was that rebel. I didn't want to explain myself. I didn't want to tell you where I was going. Like I just wanted to like, I'm out type of energy. And so it's been interesting to witness like my family, it's like I have like my tapestries from Peru hanging up. I have my altar, I have my crystals. I'm like, cleansing them in the moon or in the sun, and like, and they're just like, what are you doing? And at first I could feel that energy of like kind of like, oh, I'm just misunderstood, like that inner teenager coming out. And it was just like, wait a minute, like these are beautiful opportunities to be like, oh, well, do you want to know more about this? Like this is my prayer tobacco, and this is what I do with it, and this is da 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 da, whatever it was. And it was just this huge switch where I'm like, they might just say it's weird because they don't know anything else about it, but they're still wondering, it's like they still want to know. And so I had this like switch of like, oh, I get to be more open of actually explaining things and being, and it helps me as, not even for myself and the wounds and all the things that we healed together as a family, but it's like how I speak about what I'm doing. It's like we are at a certain level to where it's like you and I can talk about aliens and this and all the things. And we're like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But, somebody else that's hearing that from the outside, they're like, what the fuck are they talking about? And so it's like, you don't teach a baby like how to sprint, you know what I mean? It's like you have to put these two blocks together and then this, and so it's really helped me as well to kind of like slow myself down and be like, okay, this is teaching me how to talk to the Amanda that was however many years ago, that could be a future client that is on the beginning of their spiritual journey and is just finding a crystal for the first time, or just what is reiki, or what is this, and so it's been really cool to look at it that way as well. I'm like, oh, this is actually like helping me and how I communicate, what it is that I do. So that's been really neat.
Yeah, I think that's so important because I mean, I think all different clients can be attracted to working with you or with anyone like at different levels, but I think it's important for us to be able to, yeah, like pull back for people who are just beginnings. So it's not like hiding information or gatekeeping or anything. It's just so people are not confused. You can't be like, oh, okay, like this is how you astral project, like when they don't even know how to like sit still for a
Mhm.
minute. Like
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's definitely a journey. And I think people want to go real fast.
Yeah, yeah. It's true. That was part of the reason why I got not I don't think I looked at it that way, but it's almost like plant medicine can kind of be that 10 years of therapy in one sitting or something. It's like, okay, how can I like get through this shit, and I feel like my soul was just my higher self was probably looking at all the decisions that I was doing and the limiting beliefs I was keeping myself in and being like, bitch, like really, like, so let me kind of give you something that's gonna like snap you out of that a little bit quicker because we ain't got the time.
Yeah, and I really do think like sometimes when we have that calling to do like be the healer, be the one that does the work for other people,
Mhm,
like it can be an accelerated
mhm,
opening
yeah.
because it's kind of like you have to get to a point where you can understand yourself enough to be able to actually help other people, but we don't have we don't have 30 years for that, so we gotta
No,
like hurry up quick.
yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, so I just love to hear about your work with the plant medicine. For me, like I have never, I mean, I've done psychedelics, but never from a perspective of medicine.
Mm,
So I haven't done them since I've opened my intuitive gifts at all. So I'm
yeah.
it's like a whole different field within the spiritual work. Like I think it's fascinating to me. And I don't think I would say I'm never going to do it.
Mhm.
I'm just not ready yet.
Yeah.
I think I know, I'll know when I'm ready for that. But I
Yeah.
think it's so cool to see people profoundly shift so quickly, like you said. Like
Mm,
someone might come in with this extreme trauma and they sit with mushrooms or ayahuasca or whatever it is, and
mhm.
they have a whole different outlook on life. So I just love to hear like your perspective and maybe a little bit about your experience receiving it as well.
Of course. Yeah. I
It's
just
like a whole different way to see. Like I'm like see the other realms. Like it's
Mhm.
just turning a switch on or something.
Yeah.
Kind
Yeah.
of-
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I'm so, so grateful for the medicine. I mean, it really does, it not only does it I really think that it's a cathartic medicine, right? It's another way for us to move energy through our bodies in a quicker, faster way. And then also, it raises our vibration to such a place where we are able to have that pulled out, like, viewpoint to really see whatever those energies are that might be trauma, stuck energy, stuck energy, lower frequency. Maybe it's just like you're not eating well, whatever it is that's in the body, and it kind of pulls you from that place, so you can see like, oh, these habits, these limiting beliefs, these ways of being are not supporting my highest self, right? And so it really just gives you this perspective that is pulled out. It's like that God's view, in a way, to where we can look at ourselves and see the holes and the blind spots, the different things in our lives where, maybe we think we're doing great, but really there's like this thing that's here on our, behind our shoulder or whatever it is, and the medicine just gives you that different perspective about things, So I work a sister of mine and myself are carriers of mushrooms, and so her and I hold space together and we do a lot of energetic clearing. And so with that, you're at this higher frequency, and so you're able to just, it's like your all of your gifts, your intuition, all the clairs, right, all the things that are innately a part of us, it's just heightened. So it's like that part of the brain that would doubt is gone, right? So it's just like, oh, I know exactly what this is. Oh, I see this energy and I know, you know what I mean? And if you don't quite know, it's like you have the ability to connect with your guides or with spirit in a different way. So it's just like you can get confirmation. And so the way that we work is typically smaller groups or one-on-one, and we will journey alongside a sister. And for me, I do a lot of womb work. And so in sessions, I'll do womb work. And for women, we hold a lot of energy within our womb space. And just collectively, like there's just a lot with, the feminine, and just there's just a lot, right? And so we hold a lot of that in our bodies. And so I will do a lot of the womb work, and do a lot of like pulling energies out, removing energies, and sealing up the physical body in ways that are like, it's really like how, like, to be a doula, it's like you get that really good massage, or that, and you're pulling out these energies that are dense and toxic, and then you're kind of bringing in this like flowering up kind of idea with the flower essence and like the essential oils and the things that feel good, right? And so we really hold this space to where it's like we go in really deep, and we really pull out some like intense energies, and then we really seal the space, seal the space up, seal that person up in that truth and that royal essence. And just the working with the medicine just heightens it all and just allows us to see really clearly and see the parts of ourselves that um that we doubt, and that we kind of stick in, how should I say this? Like, it's just the aspects of ourselves that we've been conditioned into thinking, right? And that's just a piece of the medicine to where it will remove all of those ideas of the mind so that we can actually see that that trauma or that event that we went through was actually like this higher working, and then this happened and it affected that person that then changed this. And it's like we are able to see like those events in such a different way. And that was something for me, that was really beautiful, because one of the huge parts of getting into this work was being in a relationship where I um I was just, it wasn't a great relationship. We were karmic, and so there was a lot of stuff there. But we got pregnant, and then I lost the pregnancy. And so it was like going through this whole, like that whole emotional roller coaster, but sitting with the medicine and seeing it from this perspective of like, wow, I had to go through all those things. I had to have that loss. This had to happen, da 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 da, all this for me to be right here, to be receiving all of this knowledge, all this truth, all these activations, all these aspects of self, all my current selves were coming in. It was like, oh, wow, like this is why I had all of this, because I'm here for this reason, like, And so it just activated me in like a whole new way. And so I feel like that's really what the medicine does. It's activating us in our truth. It's removing what doesn't serve us anymore, whether that's beliefs, energy within the body, just the ways of thinking in the mind. And then, with the mushrooms, especially, like they're very for me, they're very like they give direction really clearly. You know what I mean? So where some of the other ones are more like going to give you that different perspective, bring in the forgiveness, bring in this type of energy, and mushrooms do that as well, but they're very like, okay, now you have to boom 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 boom, like, and now it's time to do this this and this, so it really gives you like, okay, I'm on my path and I'm doing the right thing, or this is what I need to work on. And they're here to assist us. I mean, it's really like, it's beautiful because I always joke and say, like, the ancestors are like, damn, you guys have like all the tools, like, figure it out already. Like, you
Yeah, we have
literally,
everything at the tip of our fingers.
like, it's
That's so
crazy.
interesting. I see it as like when we're in that state, we're almost getting like long form, like blocks of like information, like our thoughts are like longer, so you can see like, yeah, that bird's eye view perspective of like the whole story, like you're saying, not just, oh, this is what happened to me, Amanda, I had
Uh-huh.
this bad experience. Like you're seeing everyone else's
Mhm.
feelings, thoughts, emotions, which I think normally could be overwhelming. But
Yeah.
I feel like being in that space, especially in a guided experience, I think people are able to process that in a way that isn't psychically overwhelming.
Yeah. It's so true. It's so true. Like, and, too, for anyone out there that's listening and that has, curiosities about sitting, or it's, piquing your interest, something that I always really say too is, really use your discernment with who it is that you're sitting with, and who
I'm
is
glad you said that.
and who is who you are allowing to be in your space, right? Because we've all heard those stories of like, oh, my friend took mushrooms and had this horrible journey, and it's like, when a sacred container isn't created, for one, and it's not held in the proper way, then there are a lot of energies that can come into a field that isn't contained and isn't whole, right? And so if there's those holes or those energetic leaks, then distortion can come in and can really come into your physical body. You're opening yourself up in such a way where it's like, there's a lot of things like that are that have to be methodically like held in a container like that. And something that I've learned along the way is being able to witness certain carriers and certain people that claim like, I'm a shaman or this or that, and it's like, that word gets thrown around a lot. And it's just important to know, like, who is this person? Are they clear? Are they doing the work? Are they, X, Y, and Z? Because they can come in, we all have distortion within us, all of us.
And can I trust this person? Like,
Yeah.
does this person make me feel comfortable?
Mhm, mhm.
Like, just because someone has been doing it for 30 years, it doesn't mean that they're the person for you.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And so, yeah, I would say trust your gut, use discernment, really do your research, and just know that wherever the medicine leads you is,
Don't
where you're.
take mushrooms from Golden Gate Park.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Don't go out
I've
into the
made that
wild
mistake.
pastures
Don't
now.
do not do that. Yeah, don't buy acid or mushrooms off the street, please.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. Find a carrier that like, somebody that grows that really like that's their medicine, that's what they know that they're here to do, because they take every little thing that they do with such intention and such purpose, and they're doing it with such good intent and with so much love. And
And
you
there's
know
energy behind that. Like if
for sure.
someone is, if any plant, any food, anything, like if
Oh,
they're putting in their good energy, they're taking care of these plants, there's good water, all those things are important, especially with something that's so potent.
yeah, yeah, it's so true. It's so so true. So that's been my lesson along the way is, even though, like you said, someone has a lot of knowledge or has been doing it for a long time, there can still be holes in certain things. And so that's why, when we hold space, we we hold that container in a really small, like small space. I would really love to just do my sister and I, and then be working on one person, and have it be a private, because it's like all the focus is on that person. There's no other energies coming in, and we can just fully go like super deep with that, and or if it's one or two or something like that, to where it's really intimate. And I feel like with the work that I do, that's the womb work as well. It's like we're doing womb work, we're doing yoni steams, we're doing herbal baths, we're doing all of that stuff, to where it's like that's really intimate, you know what I mean? And so to be in a space with a lot of people, like it can be a lot of energy. I've sat in ceremonies where there's like 30 people, and I don't even want to know like what energies came into my field during those times, because one person just, no matter how amazing they are and how much training they've had, and whatever their lineage is, it's like unless you're just superhuman, like in all realms, forwards, backwards, and all of it, it's like we still are human, and we're still going to have those blind spots, and so protecting yourself and shielding yourself when you go into, ceremony or whatever it is that you do. I mean, just on a daily basis, honestly. But um
Yeah, and I think it's so important for people to be like you're saying earlier with that book you're reading, like be
mhm,
aware of these traumas, like be informed of these traumas. Like just because someone isn't talking about an experience that they've had in the past during
mhm,
their intake or whatever, it doesn't mean that that something might come up during
yeah.
the
Oh
healing,
yeah.
especially with something like that where people are really cracked open, old wounds, old pains,
Yeah.
and some stuff can be pretty serious. So it's like you
Oh
want
yeah.
to you
Mhm.
want to be prepared for that.
Oh, 100%. One of the most important things that we hold space for outside of medicine work is integration, and that's a piece where I felt very led by spirit to. I'm in, what is it now? Maybe like eight or ninth week of an integration program, which was literally downloaded, and like I couldn't sleep. It was like 3 in the morning or something. And I was just like, I got to write all this down. And it was like integration now, like this needs to be happening. And it's such a piece of the medicine community that's missing, because you'll get just cracked open, and you'll touch, those places of really, really deep trauma, or you'll see and experience something that you completely blocked out, and you're
Yeah,
like, was that me? Was that a past life? What the fuck was that? And so to have someone on the other side, integration is the biggest piece of all spiritual experiences. If we can't take what we learn from that experience and apply it to our everyday lives, and allow it to transform how we act, who we be, like what we do from day to day, then that was just an experience, and it was just a
that's pretty
story to
much
tell.
useless.
Yeah, it's just like, oh, let me, like, on that one day this happened, and it's like, if we're not applying it, then it's kind of, yeah, useless. And so that was a big like calling that came through. And to create those sacred containers for people to be like, yo, what the fuck, like I just awoke to the dream, yo. Like,
Yeah, I think it's
so
like a
it's like,
place for people to process too, just being able
uh-huh.
like to literally listen to people. And I
Mhm,
think you learn so much about, yeah, what you're doing in your work just by
mhm.
having that like conversation.
Yeah, it's so needed. And so yeah, we hold space for that as well. And it's just, yeah, it's beautiful work. It's all gonna be, everything that's gonna come and happen is gonna be perfect. Whatever you experience is, it's for us, it's for us to grow and expand and to learn and to deepen our practices, or to release whatever it is. I mean, I had that experience with my first ceremony with with Bufo, which is very big medicine, is something that you not recommended to do like the first time, that you get into plant medicine. It's definitely one of those like down the road, um
That I am interested in
yeah. Yeah, it's
personally.
yeah, it's amazing. And I knew that I would be dealing with the loss of my son. I knew that I would be dealing with that in medicine, in the medicine, but I never thought that it would come through in the way that it did. And I was just like, holy fuck. Like, and if I didn't have, the people around me to support me and to be there and witness me in those ways, like it was, yeah, it was incredible and so beautiful and, and hard and all of it, so it's just like, there's definitely it's going to go to the core of whatever that thing is, and sometimes our conscious mind isn't even like able to go to that place, because I'd stuffed down those emotions of mourning and sadness. And I just, I didn't allow myself to feel all those things. So of course the medicine took me straight there, and it was beautiful. So yeah, I would love that would be,
Amazing.
I'm just like, anytime somebody's like, yeah, I'm interested in bufo, I'm like, okay, let's do
I
it.
am. I am. I have a thing with frogs, but I haven't done any, me personally, I haven't done any psychedelics or anything like that since I started doing psychic work. And
Mhm.
not because I'm opposed to it, but me personally, my history, like I would use them to just get fucked up,
Yeah.
which was cool. I still had very interesting experiences. I
Yeah.
don't have any regrets. And I
Yeah.
did have powerful experiences, but it wasn't from a perspective of observing. It was just like, oh, this is like you were just saying, this is just an experience that I
Yeah.
had where I saw some cool stuff and I
Yeah.
threw up or whatever. But it's very interesting to me now to see it from a different perspective. And
Mhm.
I think it's so fascinating because it is like this, to me, it proves the reality of the work that I'm doing. Like when I had a reading with you and I had another reading with another person who sat with ayahuasca, the
Yeah.
information that I was giving them was like the same information they're receiving in ceremony. So it's happening with you and another client. So I was like, wow, this is really validating for me to see that I'm going into that
Wow.
spiritual realm to receive information that we can facilitate through like a plant.
Oh yeah,
Like it takes
100%.
us into that place,
Yeah,
which
100%.
is
So
so cool.
it's so cool. Yeah, and it's so, you're right. It's like you get to this place, especially with the medicine work, and almost everyone that I've, know that has gone through our retreats or sat, with on their own or different containers or whatever, is always coming back to this truth that is like, you are the medicine, that medicine was always within you. It was like, oh, the spirit of ayahuasca, of bufo, of like all of these, every single one, it was like, it always is, you're the medicine, and so it's just this, oh, you have the ability to go and really connect with that tree outside and put your feet on the ground, or to venture into higher realms and connect to your highest self, or to God, or to source, whatever it is. And we have those abilities. And sometimes the tools, and as plant medicine is just, because there's going to be a time when, for me, like, I don't sip plant medicine anymore, you know what I mean? It's like you get to that point where it's just like, okay, like, I've removed
You
what I need
receive the
to.
lessons. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've received. And so now it's just about being and doing and being the medicine, without, partaking and whatever. And so that's the goal, that's the place that we want to get to, and be able to just be our royal selves.
Yeah. And I see that in the breath work, like I
Mhm.
see that your ability to be that energy, that medicine, like you
Mhm.
can send that frequency to me as the person sitting with you, even though we're not intaking any
Mhm.
plants or anything
Yeah.
outside of ourselves. But and being able to connect with like, yeah, all the different aspects of your spirit, like
Yeah.
your jaguar self came through for me very powerfully,
Yep.
and higher self, those guidance, it's all within you. So I think
Mhm.
like the medicine is just a way for people to activate that, to remember that.
Exactly. It's all about the activation of remembering. And then it's sitting every day and connecting with that, with your intention, through, intention, through prayer, through what it is, and really cleansing your physical vessel. I found too, I'm getting to this point where I'm just like, I'm really diving into, the heavy metal detoxes.
I'm about to do a parasite
Are you?
cleanse. Yeah.
Yes, yes. I did oh my God, did a 24-hour water fast. I thought I was gonna freaking die. Like,
Wow.
it's just all of that, it's just like getting to that point where I'm like, okay, that's what it is, cleansing the vessel so that there's none of those dense energies within my vessel, so I can just yeah, I can really connect to God and be like, okay, like there's nothing obstructing this connection. There's nothing distorting the the information that's coming in, right? And so
Yeah.
it's really just that's the practice right now for me is like, okay, how can I, be taking care of myself so that I can be super healthy and I can be clear and I can, um, I can feel if something is trying to stick on for me from someone that I'm working with, because if I have these denser energies within myself, then I might not feel that energy that's trying to latch on. But if I'm cleansed and cleared, then I'm like, get the,
Yeah. I think
flick
that's
that
so
thing off.
important
So,
for people doing what you do. I am just intuitive, we're psychics.
yep.
Like, to keep, it's not like, oh, you have to never eat pizza again your whole life,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
to keep yourself feeling good, to find practices that help for
Yeah.
yourself, like physically clear your body.
Right.
Because yeah, the metals and stuff, like metals, parasites, all that stuff is just common. It's just the way our world is. It's not like you're doing anything wrong. Like, it's just in the water.
Yeah.
Even if you're drinking your, I have a Berkey, like I'm drinking filtered water, but it's still gonna get in
Yep.
there. So it's like, we don't want to obsess to the point where you're getting anxious and creating anxiety around it,
Yeah.
but be having that clarity so that, yeah, you can see when things are off or when something is not you. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of people are empaths or whatever you want to call it, and they're feeling feelings and they don't realize that it's not their own feelings because
Yeah.
they're cluttered.
Oh, yeah, 100%. I mean, touching on the parasite stuff, I was kind of going down the rabbit hole with that. I'm just like, everything has consciousness, right? So it's just like that little parasite that's been chilling in our guts for how long, who knows how long. And we all have them, we all have it. And it's like
Yeah,
that.
other countries do parasite cleanses like twice a year, but
Oh,
like
yeah.
America, we're like, we love our parasites.
Yeah. And it's like, I don't want to get down like the real deep, like freaking rabbit hole, but it's like everything is there's a lot of distortion, let's say. There's a lot of sources and energies at play that want to have control and have, it to be easier for people to be controlled. And so, if there's all this heaviness and density and parasitic things that are in our bodies that have consciousness, I mean, turn on the 5G baby and then you don't, who knows what like it could be, doing. And so I'm just like, okay, I will, for me, let me cleanse as much as I can. And that's really been like, for me, one of the big things lately was I went into medicine and with ayahuasca with grandmother. And I always go in, it's prayer for me, because I've cleared so much to where I'm just like, okay, it's prayer, it's prayer, it's prayer. And that's how it is for me now. And but there was like an ayahuasca grandmother, she's very mothering. She's, but just like a mother who is gonna be loving, she's also like gonna kick you in your ass, she's also like gonna tell you what's up. Like she's gonna be like, okay, and there was like this piece where she was what are you, why are you here? And I was just like, like, because
I
I'm
just
here
want
to
to hang
pray.
out.
Yeah, like I'm here to pray. Like I'm here to be in this container to hold space and like, all this. And she was like, well, why are you here though? And I was just like, and it was really this like kick in the ass. It was like, you have everything you need. You are the medicine. I have like, you're clear in this, and this, like you've been activated with this and that. And it's just like, okay, like do it
Now
now,
it's time to step into the
you
role.
know?
Yeah.
So go for it and do it, And so it's just like, oh yeah, like so the everyday being, that's why I love that you started the whole, podcast off with those questions of like, what's your daily practice? It's like, it's so important for us to be in that daily practice and to be like dedicated to that, because if we're not, then things definitely, you can feel the difference.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, but for the beginning of the year, I like to set like an intention for the year. And my
Mhm.
intention for this year was devotion, which I like as like a way to think of dedication, but from like a different perspective where it's like, oh, I'm keeping up this schedule or this task within my life, not because I have to, but because I'm like honoring myself and of course God.
Yeah.
doing that.
I
Well, is
love
there anything else you want to share with us before we close out? Tell
just
us,
thank
plug your stuff too.
yeah,
Tell us how
thank
to
you.
find you.
Yeah. Yeah, just thank you so much for, letting me be here and join you in this conversation. And to everyone that's listening, I can't wait to see how the podcast grows and the other, guests that you'll have. So I'll be tuning in. So thank you. And yeah, to everyone that's listening, if you want to find me on the webs, on Instagram is always the best place. It's at Mwiza Marie, which is MWIZA Marie.
I'll
Um,
tag, I'll post it in the show notes so you guys
okay,
can
cool.
find her.
Yeah, or at on my website, which is theroyalvibejourney.com. And I have all my information about breathwork room, future retreats, integration programs. So all the bulk of the information is going to be on the website there. So if you want to check that out, we're
Amazing.
always like putting up probably with the end of July of this year, we're going to be doing an in-person retreat.
Oh,
So
cool.
yeah, so we'll be doing that. We're looking at somewhere in Southern California, possibly Arizona, like Sedona, like something like Joshua Tree vibes, like something like that. So we'll be doing in-person retreat that'll probably be about 4 days of sitting medicine, but then also the womb massages, the massage, the herbal baths, the yoni steams for our ladies, really, really good food. I love to cook, so I'm all about like all the really yummy vegan food. And so we'll be doing that probably end of July.
Amazing. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
And
Thank you.
I will post Amanda's information in the show notes, and you guys can check her out on Instagram and all of the things. So thank you.
Mhm.
And we will see you soon.